Si Tahai Iska Waran to all of my Somali audience. Viewers, hello and welcome to Ray's World. This is your host, Sriraj. Today we're here to talk about one of my most favorite countries in the world, Somalia. Amidst the raging battles and conflict in Israel Gaza, Russia Ukraine, the South China Sea, and the ongoing nuclear negotiations between Iran and the USA, Somalia is back in the news. And here to shed light upon the topic, we are joined once again by Ambassador Shoman Ray.
Thank you for having me.
Welcome, sir. Ambassador Shoman Ray served in Somalia during a very crucial time, 1987 to 1990, and he was witness to some very important events that were unfolding at that time that have repercussions even today. Mostly, Somalia remains in the public memory by way of big blockbuster Hollywood films like Black Hawk Down and Captain Phillips. But Somalia is much more than that. Sir, what's the big deal about Somalia?
Somalia, it's located at the Horn of Africa, and the region of Horn of Africa is strategically very important because it's at the sea route from Indian Ocean to the Mediterranean. Cargo ships carrying commercial goods as well as the oil tankers from the Gulf countries pass from Indian Ocean to the Mediterranean. Those first enter the Gulf of Aden, which is linked to the Indian Ocean. From there, there's a choke point from Gulf of Aden to the Red Sea. That's called Bab el Mandeb. That is gateway to the Red Sea. And from Red Sea, the ships go up and through Suez Canal enters the Mediterranean Sea. It's vice versa. European and US exports are also routed through this route. Otherwise, they have to take all the detour through the Cape of Good Hope in South Africa. There goes this thing.
That increases the cost.
Of course, that increases the cost and takes long time.
Right.
That is exactly the reason Suez Canal was created. Now, the Horn of Africa, there has been a rivalry between the colonial power for centuries to have control over this sea route, especially from the Mediterranean through the Red Sea, Gulf of Aden to Indian Ocean and vice versa. Now, you see, in the past, we saw the colonial powers, the most powerful, the Britain, Great Britain, or the United Kingdom rather. They had colonies in northern Somalia. Somalia has the largest sea coast in Africa. In the north, there's the Gulf of Aden, and in the east, the Indian Ocean. In the past, the UK had colonies in the Somaliland, that is the northern part of Somalia, and the southern part was held by the Italians.
At that time it was called Somaliland only.
No, Somaliland and Somalia.
Right.
Two different entities at that time.
The Italians and the
Italian colony and the
English.
English colony or British colony. The French were in Djibouti and Barbara Port was under the British colony. French controlled Djibouti. Djibouti lies, if you look at the map, you will see that Djibouti's port is located at the Bab el Mandeb, that gateway. Then there is another country. There's a new country, Eritrea. But Eritrea was a part of, in the past, Eritrea was a part of Ethiopia, and it was never colonized by any country. In fact, the Italians tried, but when they failed there, they came to Somalia. So the sea route was more or less ensured by the colonial powers. French in Djibouti, the Italians in Somalia, and the Britishers were in.
So the British used to supply the Indian colonies through this route.
Absolutely.
Right.
Indian colony, that's the most important.
Right, the crown jewel of the British Empire.
Absolutely. So that is very important, and that's why they didn't allow any other country to get hold of Somaliland. Now that was the situation. Now in 1960, when Somalia got independence, the Somaliland and Somalia, Italian and British colonies were amalgamated, and an independent country was created. Ethiopia, I'm coming to Somalia, why it is come to the news, this thing. In Ethiopia, it was under the king of Haile Selassie, so it was sort of very, what shall I say, militarily they are very powerful, then stable country.
Right.
Then in 1974, there's a communist takeover. Mengistu came to power, and the Soviet Union supported them, so it was stable. So there was no vacuum there. From Ethiopia, Eritrea, there has been conflicts of interest between the Eritreans, who are basically a Tigray clan, Tigray tribe, Eritrea and Ethiopia. So finally in 1993, Eritrea got independence and got the port of Assam. So Eritrea, from then Eritrea got the importance.
So Eritrea is the second newest country in the world after
Yeah.
South Sudan.
No, there are many, there are many small countries after 1993. So Eritrea got importance. But in Eritrea, the Chinese invested a lot. The UAE, Gulf country, their oil export, they invested a lot, and Eritrea got, I would say, trapped into the Chinese, they call it debt trap of one belt, one road, or one road, one belt, belt and road. A huge amount of
Chinese
money
are all over Africa.
all over Africa. So they got trapped, and there is no space for any other country besides UAE and China to enter there. Now, coming to Djibouti, in Djibouti also there is no space because the Chinese have constructed a huge naval base in Djibouti,
Right.
huge naval base controlled by the Chinese People's Liberation Army. And UAE also invested a lot in Djibouti. Besides that, it's an erstwhile French colony, and France has still got good influence over the Djiboutian government. Now, Ethiopia became landlocked. So now the importance is for Eritrea and Djibouti. Now, this is for outsiders, there is no space to come in. Inside also, in Eritrea, there are 9 different tribes. You know, African countries are
Right.
tribal based. 9 different tribes in Eritrea, but the strong Islamist president, what's his name? Afwerki. President Afwerki is, ruling this country with strong hold, with strong hand rather. So there is no problem there. It's a stable country, and they are sometimes accused of exporting Islamic fundamentalism in some part of Africa. Anyway, so inside there is no problem. In both in Eritrea and in Djibouti, there are two main tribes. Djibouti is the adjacent. Once upon a time, before the French invasion and colonization, Djibouti was a part of Somalia, because it is a Somali-speaking people or Somali tribals are there. But in the south, in the north, there is another tribe. Also, there are different clans of Somalia, Somali tribe in the southern Djibouti, and in the northern part, there are the Afars. Okay, but
So, have there been any attempts for annexation of these lands back into Somalia?
the Somalia always says that Somalia's flag. I have seen that it has got 5 stars.
Right.
In fact, there is a part of Somalia which has been given to Ethiopia by Ethiopia. There is Ogaden.
There was a war also.
There's a war in Ogaden. Syed Barre wanted to annex that country, annex that region, and that started his downfall. So, Djibouti is being run by or being governed by, though it's a multi-party system, so-called multi-party system, it is administered by, or it is ruled by uncle and nephew duo, the Guleli family or Guleli family. Now, Ismail Guleli, since 1999, I think for a short period, his uncle came in. So, Ismail Guleli is in full control of Djibouti. So, there is no inside conflicts between the various clans of Somali clans and the Afar clans. Okay, it's under control and it's doing very well. I had been to Djibouti, and it's just like any French city.
And they have Chinese support, lot of Chinese support.
Lots of Chinese support. As I told you that China has built a naval base.
So as a result of the naval base, there must be a lot of commerce that is going on over there.
Commerce practically is controlled, and moreover, in Djibouti, US has got a surveillance base
Right.
for surveillance of the sub-Saharan Africa, not full sub-Saharan, Sahel region, mainly Sahel region and little under that. US also has also a base. So there is no problem there. So Now coming to the Horn of Africa, which I at the beginning of my uh, at the beginning I made the statement that Horn of Africa is important. So now these countries, there is no space for any outsiders, as well as there is no any internal conflict. These are stable countries. Ethiopia had got some problem with Ethiopia has got
It's a
landlocked country.
They need a port.
They need a port. I will come to that point, that issue later on. Ethiopia, so there are three countries. Ethiopia is stable, though it has got problem with the Tigray. There's another tribe they want, separation.
Tigray Liberation
Front. In fact, I have seen that Tigray
People's Liberation Front.
Tigray People's Liberation Front. I have seen their. I saw their office
in Somalia.
In Mogadishu on the beach road. Because Somalia, Ethiopia, they have got problems since the Ogaden War.
Right.
Or before Ogaden War. So they were supporting this. But mainly there are two tribes, the Amharis and the Oromos. Okay. Coincidentally, the present Prime Minister, Ahmed Abe, is of mixed parentage of Amhari and Oromo.
He
Okay.
can't be bought over.
He can't be bought over. So there is no space, though it's a landlocked, but it's militarily most powerful in the Horn of Africa, Ethiopia. And now, let us come to. So I have described you, I have briefed you how these things came. Now, this Somalia, it has got only one tribe, that is Somali. In the whole of Africa, all countries are a mixture of tribes, okay, except perhaps Botswana, where the Tswana, from their tribe, Botswana name came, Tswana. They are the largest tribe, and there are a few small tribes. But in Somalia, there is only one tribe, Somali. But the problem is that in Somalia is that they are clan-based. From the Somali tribe, there are various clans, and the clans live in different parts of the country. In Somaliland, it is mainly the Ishaks and the Dulbante, these two tribes. But the Ishaks are the majority. But in other parts, there are various clans which have got their own, clan land. The Marehans, Majitains, Hawiye, Hebergidi, to name a few.
These are in the south.
In the south.
In Somalia.
In Somalia. And they have got their own areas. It started with Somalia is mainly a pastoral nomadic life they used to live. And very few people in the south, particularly in the Juba Valley and Shebele River Valley, there is some agriculture. Otherwise, it's barren.
They're facing a lot of climate change issues also.
Climate change issues also, you are very right. Because of that, there are famine, desertification. Now, after independence, Somalia has got glorious period, had the glorious period from 1960 to say 1966, I think 66 or 67. That was a glorious period, golden age of Somalia, I would say. Democratic government, good president, good governance, good service delivery, good development. But after his death in 1967, I suppose, or 66, there was a second president, Shirmaki, I think his name. Uh, from his period, corruption and everything started. Uh, the condition of the country deteriorated. Then he was assassinated. Then there was another third president was elected or selected.
Mukhtar, Sheikh Mukhtar.
Could be, yeah. He was in power for the 6 days or 7 days.
Yeah.
And there was a bloodless coup, and President Mohammad Syed Barre, at that time I think he was a general. General Syed Barre took over the power. Or I think he was a colonel. At that time he was a colonel. Because I remember to have seen a trade license issued by Colonel Syed Barre to a barber shop where I used to go while I was in Mogadishu. It was signed by, I still remember, Colonel Syed Barre. Anyway, Syed Barre from 1969 till 1976, he first introduced, there is no language, written language in Somalia, though it's a very rich literacy, cultural history. Somali cultural history is very rich, but there is no written language, so he introduced written language, scripts. He also declared that Somalia cannot, unified Somalia, Somaliland and Somalia, there cannot be any, he abolished clan system in theory. He never supported, though his own clan, he belonged to Marhan clan, Marhan Swar in key post, but there are other people from other clans as well. And the Majetains, the business community, they flourished under him. Hawiyas flourished under him. So he abolished him. Now, there is no point in going back to the history of Somalia. After the departure or after Syed Barre was removed from power in 1991, after he fled to Nairobi, you know that civil war started. You have already mentioned two famous films. I left Somalia when civil war has already started. There was a civil war. There was an uprising in the north in 1988. I was there, and Somalia, Syed Barre's son-in-law, Captain Morgan, he was a captain, Captain Morgan. He crushed the rebellion in the north. They wanted to go back to the Somaliland, but he crushed them. And soon after the fall of Syed Barre, the clashes among the tribes started, and it was apportioned by different clans, and started the warlords in every region. They started these things, and there was efforts by the international community to solve the problem. This is the reason. Still, it is not. So the problem has not been. It has been addressed for a long time, for the last 3 decades, but it has not been solved.